So I'm obviously not a pilot yet. I'm also not a pilot expert or anything like that. But I thought what I would do is I would share my thoughts on what I decided to look for and what I thought was important for selecting my flying school to do my private pilot's license. So earlier on today, I took the opportunity to pop down to Gloucester Airport, and I'm really fortunate the fact that I have that airport just 30 minutes away, and there are quite a few flying schools there. I think must be 8 or so, so plenty for me to choose from, and because with more choice, that means more indecisiveness, more thinking, and then trying to make hopefully the right choice. So based on the research I did, I've basically come up with a list with questions and things that I wanted to ask that I thought would be important to help me kind of decide what school to choose. So I thought I would share that with you now, and again, it may or may not be helpful for you in terms of deciding who you're going to go with. So obviously for all these sites, I had a look on their website. There's lots of information on the web obviously for this kind of thing. It's also good to make some phone calls to these places as well. I found there was one place that I contacted at a different airfield, so I'm not going to mention it right now, and they were really rude. I basically couldn't be asked to really talk to me or give me the time of day. They basically said, look on the website. So automatically that gave me a negative feeling. I didn't want to kind of go through with them. So when I went to visit these different locations, first thing I asked them for was a price list. Yes, lots of the time this is on the internet, but I want to make sure that I had the most accurate, up-to-date price list from them in person. And this is also for me to help me to see if there's any hidden costs. So what is the cost for training? Does it include landing fees, or does it not include landing fees? Is it a wet fee? So is the plane fuel, is that on top of? Does it include the instructor fees or not? Most of the time it seems that this does include pretty much everything except for potentially your landing and touch and go fees, but normally it's a fully fueled aircraft for the hour, and obviously for the instructor fee as well. Other thing to keep in mind when you look at some of the prices, you do also need to consider your height, your width and your weight. So for example, I'm a wider guy, and obviously I guess of a higher weight as well. And there are restrictions on the certain types of plane apparently on what you might want to fly. So for example, if you look at a Cessna 152, I think it is, they recommend that someone over 15 stone doesn't go in one of those. So if that is the case, you're going to use a 172. My preference actually was to try and find a flight school that had a Piper PA 28, just because I like the look of it, no other reason. And some schools have those, some schools seem to favour the Cessna. So yeah, but I'll come on to that in a little bit as well. In the UK, again, based on my research, because of Brexit and stuff, it seems that there is a difference between the EASA or CAA based training and certification. So you want to make sure the school is doing the CAA license, which obviously is what most relevant for here in the UK. And you still can fly into Europe and stuff. You just won't be able to rent a aircraft and fly it there, is my understanding. So depends where you're going to do most of your flying. Again, I may be wrong with this. I'm still learning and finding all this out, and this is kind of right at this introductory stage. I haven't even had a flying lesson at this point. Other things I want to ask them about was their safety record. So even though flying is very safe, there obviously is some risk involved, as with most things in life, and it is something that I'm new to. So trying to find out what is their safety record like. Have they had any aviation related accidents or injuries in their school? Just to try and build some confidence. They've got people kind of crashing their planes on the ground and in air issues and stuff. That's something that I want to know about. Also ask them about their success rate and what is the average flight hours of their students when passing. Now, I'm asking this for a couple of reasons. One, A lot of things I read online is that some schools may try and essentially scam the students out of some money. So keep, I guess like same with any tuition, keep saying, oh, you need more lessons, you need more lessons, you need more lessons, because obviously that's where they're generating most of their revenue, is in the teaching. So if you have a good indication of that people aren't necessarily taking 100 hours to pass, when obviously the minimum required is 45 hours, that's I think a good indication. And I also asked the question in context. So what seems to be most common, I guess, like with most things, if you're training consistently and every week, you've got a much higher chance that you may be quite close to that, passing close to your 45-hour requirement. However, if you're only doing once a month or every couple of months, it's going to take you 60, 70, 80 hours or more. So I wanted to find out about the context of that. And again, most of the time, the instructor probably isn't going to put people forward to take tests unless they're confident and happy that they're probably going to pass anyway. So I was interested in the success rate and the average flight hours of the students when they came to pass. So that was interesting to me. How long is an instruction session? And what I mean by that is, how long is the whole session in total? So how much time do I need to take out of work or the weekend to be able to do the training? And so what seems to be typical is you've got about a 30-minute pre-flight briefing, an hour instruction in the air, and then a half an hour kind of post-flight briefing. So you want to have a 2-hour slot outside of your other life commitments to do the training each time. And also, when is the charging happening? Is it from the beginning, or is it basically when, I think they call it when the brakes are off or the blocks are out or something? And most of the time it seems that you're paying for the time when the brakes are off. So the time that basically you start rolling on the runway, etc. It's when you're being billed for, so that's when your hour will be there. And obviously my understanding is if you're out for an hour and 10 minutes, you'll be charged for an hour and 10 minutes based on the hourly rate. And when if you're only out there for 40 minutes or less because the weather's bad or the lesson doesn't need to be that long and you're struggling and need a mental rest, again it'd be kind of pro rata priced based on that. Also asked them about their style of teaching. Now to me that's trying to find out, like, do they have a very strict syllabus, or are they more flexible based on the progression of the student? Or if you're really struggling, how are they kind of doing things? So that was interesting to me to ask about style of teaching. And then also asking about their instructors, their experience and their background. So for this, what I'm trying to find out is, are their instructors just people that are trying to get hours under their belt because they're off to do commercial stuff? So perhaps they're not going to be there throughout my training because I'd like some consistency. Or they're someone that's been, a commercial pilot for a few years and they've kind of retired from that, or maybe unfortunately due to Brexit and the whole COVID stuff, that they're looking for alternative income. So the training thing is a more steady, stable thing. So I've got a good chance of being, able to learn from the same person if things work out well for the duration, and also, how much experience have they had? Do they just pass their certified flying instructor qualification last week, and they've only been flying, for a year or something, or have they got, many hours exceeding the minimum CFI requirements? So that was something for me. Also want to ask about the conditions for a lesson. So if there's a little bit of rain, do you still fly? Obviously if there's thunder and lightning and stuff like that, you're not going to fly, but trying to understand, especially living in England, the weather is very variable, very changeable. We don't often have really, perfect days. So what does that look like in terms of future planning? And especially when I'm recording this video, it is end of October 2021. So obviously we're getting into the winter season now. Is now still a good time to consider starting flight school? Also asked if they have any preference on the order of the exams that you do, and it seems to be there is a requirement for most schools that you have done the law exam and the operational procedures exam. I think the law one is a CAA requirement, and then most schools want you to have done the procedures and operations one is my understanding, so it helps give some focus as to what's happening there and what you need to do. Also, what their costs and availability are for ground school. So, and also do they mandate ground school? So trying to find out if you turn up for a lesson that gets cancelled because of weather, are they going to try and make you do the ground school there if you perhaps don't want to? And the reason I ask that question is my plan is to do most of my ground school as home study and then take things from there, but obviously want the option for ground school training if I want to. Also, information on other materials and costs required. So some of the schools that I looked at require an enrolment fee, and as part of that enrolment fee they may give you some of the books and other kind of training materials and bags and stuff that you may or may not want. So for example, I've already got different versions of the books and most of the books that I think I need, so trying to minimise the cost where appropriate, but I don't want to minimise costs at the reduction of quality and stuff, so I'm requiring their expertise on kind of what materials and costs may be required. So headsets, knee boards, a good set of headphones, that kind of thing. Mentioned already, again just verifying that the instructor costs are included in the training fee, and as is the fuel. Also asking about their instructor turnover and availability. So back to that question I was asking earlier, are they going to be there for the duration of my training, or do they seem to be changing trainers like every 3 months, because that's probably not going to work for me. And also, what is availability? So for me, I'm probably not going to be doing this most weekends. I'm going to do it like 1 or 2 mornings in the week if I can fit things around work, and I need to be able to have someone that can do that. So some of the schools I spoke to can only do trainers at like 4 p.m. That's no good to me, because I need to be picking my kids up from school and stuff like that. So trying to work out, find a school that feels good and also can cater for my needs. Also asking about the discovery flight or a training flight. This is something that most schools offer. So the price is normally quite similar, or maybe a little bit reduced from a more formal lesson. These are often sold as experience flights that could be 20, 30, 40, 60 minutes long. There's like a sightseeing thing, but they can also offer that as basically a first semi-informal lesson. The good thing about this is those flight hours still count to your flight hours for PPL, so it's not a wasted 20, 30, 40, 60 minutes, whatever it may be. But the advantage is you typically don't have to pay any membership fees or enrolment fee before doing that. So it's another good kind of lower risk way of trying out the school before you go ahead and do it. Also get some guidance from them on when to do the medical. So for PPO you need a class 2 medical certificate, and the reason I'm trying to get some feedback from them on when they advise to do this and if they have any recommendations is, me personally, private pilot's license is relatively expensive. I don't want to spend half the time of the training, and then when you get to needing the medical, which is before you do your first solo, only then to find out for some reason I've got some medical issue I'm not aware of and I can't get a certificate to fly. It's best to find that out quite early. So personally, my plan is, after doing my first trial flight, assuming I like it all, then I'm going to try and get the medical done and out of the way before doing other lessons, but we'll see how that turns out. Also asking them how many planes they have, what types of plane and what availability they have, and also asking them about maintenance. So any plane that is rented out or used for training requires a service every 100 hours. But I found most of the schools that I think are pretty good are service them every 50 hours, just to be kind of doubly sure that everything's good, because obviously they're getting a lot more regular use. Also asked if I could have a look around the hangar to have a look at the quality of the aircraft myself. So do they look well maintained and cared for, or are they just kind of some shaky type thing? And again, some of the schools I looked at, you definitely is a variance in quality of the quality of the aircraft, regardless of what the maintenance may or may not be. Obviously you make a lot of judgment with your eyes. Me personally, because I'm trying to hopefully record some of this for the channel, but also for my own learning and feedback when I look back on the videos, if they would be happy for me to be able to video my training sessions with a GoPro in the cockpit. Of all the ones I've asked, actually, I feel like I'm one of the first people ever to ask this. So we'll see in the future if my videos do have, well, if I have future videos that have cockpit stuff, or it's just me doing kind of post flight kind of debriefs on the channel. Talk a bit about the exams, what the costs are, and when to do them, and if you can do them on site. So the CAA has recently changed things, is my understanding, and basically it's all done online, and there's a much larger question base now, so that may or may not be a good thing. Also, some of the schools said to me they have sample exam papers and stuff that you can use if you're a member, and have a look at as many of those as you like there, which is good. Also, again, ask the obvious question: why should you use their flight school? What is their unique selling point, or the reason that you should go with them? When are they open? So lots of schools aren't open 7 days a week. Some of them are open 7 days a week. Some of them, again, aren't doing lessons until in the afternoon. I found, especially now that we're getting into the winter months, people are obviously doing their night training, and so as a result of that, sometimes they're not opening in the mornings because the instructors are coming later on in the evening, which again wouldn't work for me right now. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. So I hope this kind of helps. Again, just sharing my list. It may or may not be helpful for you if you're looking to do your private pilot's license, but I thought it was part of trying to do a series of recording this. Yeah, we'll see what happens, and obviously depending on how the series goes, and there'll be a playlist, you'll find out, did I go ahead with it, did I kind of bail out or not. And my plan is I'm not going to probably release these series of videos until I actually get my license, so perhaps a year or more may have passed from recording this video to actually posting it. But if you have questions, please leave comments, consider subscribing if you have. Like this video, it'd be much appreciated. But until the next one, that's it. Take care and goodbye for now.